pay taxes, and we are deporting people who do pay taxes.
Yeah.
So, I said it's not like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in for a fresh new week of live shows. The Todd Allbaugh Show from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, in a location above State Street.
Ready to rock and roll.
Got about 40 seconds till we kick
Mike
it off.
Clemens kicking off the show today. Very excited.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Monday. Back to work, back to school, April 28th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite here at the world headquarters of Civic Media, downtown Madison. Overcast, I'll say very high overcast skies, partly sunny, some may call it here in downtown Madison. Big show for you today. Going to talk about some of the news headlines over the weekend. Take a look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., your calls as well. And going to talk sports with our sports reporter, Mike Clemens, in just a moment. But Mr. Zommers, first of all, we have to get right to a special weather statement. Eyes to the sky today. We'll tell you that current temperatures, it's 74 degrees right now in Madison, Wisconsin. Contrast that to 42 in Superior right now. So quite the contrast across the state of Wisconsin. So, of course, that sets up a weather situation. Let's get right to a special weather statement at this hour, particularly affecting our listeners in WFHR in the Wisconsin Rapids area, and also over in WCFW, the TAP, over in the Chippewa Valley area. This from the National Weather Service. A strong thunderstorm impacting parts of Clark and Jackson counties, just finishing up in those counties right now. A while ago, a strong storm was just over Black River Falls, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. With this storm, wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour and half-inch hail. This is a radar indicated storm. As far as impacts, gusty winds could knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. Minor hail damage to vegetation is also possible. And so the Weather Service asking people in the path of this storm to head indoors, consider seeking shelter in an inside building. Can tell you, looking at live weather radar right now, that storm they've been tracking is moving, as we say, 55 miles per hour. It's now right around the Neilsville area and heading towards Marshfield. So people in the Marshfield, McMillan, Stratford area, this is just south and west of Wausau. This storm seems to be heading on track to go pretty close, not directly into the Wausau area. So people listening to WXCO up in Wausau area, be aware this storm is moving towards you. The storm that was just south and east of Nakusa and Wisconsin Rapids, that is now mostly heavy rain as most of the thunderstorm activity has dissipated. Not a severe storm at this point, but there is a very strong thunderstorm over the Sparta area moving towards Toma right now, just to the east of La Crosse area. And then just north and west of Osseo and kind of more towards the just east of Eau Claire, another cell there. So be aware, keep an eye to the sky. What's going to happen is as these clouds in parts of Wisconsin dissipate, that allows the sun to come in, which unfortunately on a day like today is a bad thing because that's going to make the air less stable, and that has the potential of fueling these storms across the state of Wisconsin. later on this afternoon, and then even into the overnight hours tonight. So keep your radios tuned to your favorite weather source, or if you have a weather alert system on your phone, your weather radio, keep it intact. Again, some places are going to see nothing. Other places may see some very, very strong storms and severe weather. We want to keep you updated here at Civic Media. 10 past the hour of 2 o'clock. Let's go right now to our top story of the day. It took Wisconsin by storm. That's the NFL draft held in Green Bay over the weekend. No one covered it better. No one gave us the play-by-play better than our sports reporter, Mike Clemens, from Lambeau Field all weekend long. He's kind enough to join us via phone. Mike Clemens, have you recovered from the big NFL draft?
Maybe by Wednesday or Thursday or so.
Right.
A lot of hours and stuff, but good stuff. And, the best thing, too, about our stations, too, our Civic Media stations, is because you get these updates from Brittany or Corey or the rest of the staff, and whether it's on the app or just going across the state, 23 stations, because I'm driving, between Green Bay and Milwaukee and Madison and cover the teams. It helps me plan out, like, all right, I better get an early start to go in there.
Right.
Yeah, for the draft, except for that cold, rainy day Friday, this thing drew 600,000 fans.
Incredible.
Second only to when it was in Nashville. And Nashville was such a great backdrop on TV with the Nashville bars, the country music, everything that they had going on there. That was back in 2019. Over 600,000 fans, even with that bad day. Do you realize now that in just 3 days, Green Bay and the draft drew more people than it takes 10, 11 days through either Summerfest or the Wisconsin State Fair?
Wow.
That's a huge draw, right?
Yeah. No, and how cool was it just, for those of us who weren't working it like you were, Mike, to watch this on, I spent a lot of my time on ABC, flip back to ESPN a little bit, but to see all these Wisconsin references, to hear the Packers mentioned so often, just what a great boom for Wisconsin, the greater Green Bay, Fox Valley area.
Yeah, so, the Packers wait. They don't trade up. They wait till their time comes up at the 23rd draft overall on Thursday night in the first round, and they take this Matthew Golden kid out of Texas, 4.29 speed, really fast, good hands as well. Has to be if the Packers are going to use a first-round pick on a wide receiver. They had not done that since, was it 2002 that they drafted Javon Walker?
Yeah.
It's been so long since the Packers used a first-round pick that Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are waiting for on a wide receiver, that the kid that they picked, Matthew Golden, wasn't even born then, right?
I love it.
That's how long it's been. And, he was on a lot of people's depth charts, but there were some other moves that were made up there, so he was still on the board, and so Gutekunst used that. And then he used his third round pick, on another wide receiver out of TCU, Savion Williams. Now, how's this for karma? We said, so how do you think you'll get along with Matthew Golden? He says, when you're in college and then sometimes they come to you and say, hey, we've got some high school seniors that are looking at, considering schools. Could you put one up for the night? Guess who we put up for the night?
Who?
Matthew Golden.
Wow.
And now here they are 3 years later. They're going to be teammates. Yeah.
Love it.
So just all kinds of stories. So, Mark Murphy with that terrific announcement to tell, 200,000 people Thursday night, all right, with the 23rd pick, the Green Bay Packers, we've taken a wide receiver, and people get all wide, crazy. And then that kid comes out with the gold coat, and this Matthew Golden, like 7, 8 years ago, Todd, him and his mom were living in the back of a Walmart.
Wow.
A family took him in the Houston area to help him get through high school, to qualify to get into college. Played at Houston, then he transferred over to Texas to the Longhorns. They had an offensive program that's a little bit better. And then this one that they picked in the third round, Savion Williams from TCU, that's a huge passing program. I was checking out their season last year. They were throwing the ball anywhere from 35 to 50 times a game. And he played a lot of quarterback in high school. I asked him about it on the Zoom call that we had. And so he's kind of a gadget. He's 6'4", same size as Christian Watson. Not as fast, like 4.4 speed, but the scouts, they kind of remind you of Cordell Patterson, the former Viking and Patriots, who he could be a kick returner. He could be a Wildcat guy. He threw a touchdown pass out of the Wildcat last year for TCU. So a versatile guy that Matt LaFleur's excited about, because I can use this guy in a jet sweep. I can use him for a variety of ways in the backfield.
Really, and you talk about these stories. We're talking to Mike Clemens, our sports reporter here at Civic Media, who was at the draft all weekend long doing yeoman's work for us, reporting on the draft. You talk about these stories, Mike, and that's we had Brandon Ewing on, the brother of Brady Ewing, former Badger and NFL player. He talked about what it was like from a family perspective and watching your brother get drafted and the impact. And that, for me, I think, is one of my favorite parts of watching the draft are these behind the scenes stories of what some of these kids have come up from and through. And one of the great stories, and I want to, if you can talk a little bit about this guy, Baron Sorrell, who waited around, who was there on night 1 and 2, but never got drafted. And then he makes a surprise appearance, third or fourth round, and gets drafted. I thought that was a great story.
And if there's anything I'm a little bit critical of, is like why only 16 players showed up for the first round on Thursday night when there's 32 teams picking. And if you're the fans, that you're standing out there, I mean, that's what you want, is you want to see these players in person and their moment.
Yeah.
And so many of these guys like to stay home. Is it because they don't want to be embarrassed? Part of it is because I don't think they can afford it.
Right.
But this Barry and Sorrell out of Texas, he asked his dad, like, listen, I think I'm going to go in the second or third round. Could we go to Green Bay? So they had to pay for it, and they brought along the family. They had like 8 people. He didn't get picked Friday night. So then they said, well, we might as well stay. We're here, right? I don't mind when I go. I want that moment on the stage. So then all of a sudden, Roger Goodell, he's got other people filling in. And they didn't have that many former players reading off names this weekend either. But when Goodell finds out, hey, this next kid coming up here at 124 in the 4th round is actually, he's in the green room, commissioner. Oh, yeah, I'll read this. So he goes out with the card, and he says, Barry and Sorrell, the Green Bay Packers select Barry and Sorrell from Texas, and he's here. And he came out. And Brian Goodikins, the GM, said, I had no idea who was in town. He was the next player on my draft board. We needed a defensive end, a rush guy. So then Sorrell, after he gets his shirt and his cap and a hug from the commissioner, he goes walking across the street. He goes inside Lambeau Field.
Wow.
He does a Lambeau leap, and then he comes and sees us up there in the podium in the media auditorium. And the family shuffles in. And after he talks about, his visit he had with the Packers, what he did as a pass rusher for Texas and 6 sacks last year and 44 tackles, then they said, but you've got a lot of family here and friends. That must mean a lot to you. He breaks down crying.
Wow.
I mean, for a minute, because it's that passionate. And at the end of the day, the Packers scouts keep telling you over and over again, you can run a great time at the combine. You can lift weights. You can have, X amount of stats and break school records. But we're looking for guys that not only love football, but they need football.
Yeah.
They need football because those are the guys, when you get them into Green Bay, they're going to continue to work and improve. They're not going to just stop working when they get their first couple of $1 million. They are adamant about getting to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Jason Wilde had a story at Channel 3000 over the weekend. This quote from Matt LaFleur, I'm sure you were there for as well. I thought this really epitomized this Baron Sorrell kid. LaFleur said, quote, of this kid, he said, he's a big-time culture guy. We had a couple of guys from Texas come through here before the draft. And we always ask these guys, who are the best practice players? Or if you're going to go to a team, who are you bringing with you? They consistently, unanimously always pointed to him. I think that speaks volumes of not only the type of player he is, but the type of teammate and type of person and competitor he is. I thought that was a great quote.
His teammate was the number 1 pick, Matthew Golden.
I just thought that gave me chills to hear that because, I mean, that's the kind of guy we want at Green Bay, right? I mean, those are the kind of competitors you want for any team, but I mean, it's really cool that Green Bay picks him up. I want to make sure we get to the Bucs, but just your 30-second wrap, Mike Clemens, how do you grade the Packers' overall draft this year?
Oh, it's a Packer draft. I'll give it a B. B+.
Hey, I'll take that.
Whether that gets them over the top, give me 6 months to figure that out.
Yeah. About a minute left here. News broke about 30 minutes ago. Bucs confirm Dame is out for the rest of the season, torn ACL. Bucs just seem to be snake bit.
Yeah, last night it's in the first quarter, and the Bucs were go back on the defense. And to me, looking at the tape, Todd, it looked like Dame's right foot kind of slipped a little bit on the court. He went to catch himself with the left foot. He ends up tearing his left Achilles tendon. So he had the blood clot in the right leg. Now it's the left tendon. He could be out a year. He turns 35 this summer. The Bucks owe him $113 million. It's a mess.
It's a mess. You always help us straighten it out. Thanks, Mike Clemens. Have a great day. We'll check in with you soon live. Mike Clemens, our sports reporter on the draft. Stay tuned. More after this on the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX.
It's patio time in Madison. Let's head to the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Kick off spring with a cold one with friends on the Lazy Oaf patio. During Milwaukee baseball games, get half off of wing baskets. Plus, the Lazy Oaf Lounge is a great place for lunch with great daily specials, soups made from scratch, and fast, friendly service. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Find specials, menus, and more at lazyoaflounge.com.
It is torn Achilles, not ACL. I guess they are.
What, did I say ACL?
Yeah. Well, I think you said both, but we can clarify that it is the Achilles.
Sound familiar? Computers will have problems, and when they do, you need the computer experts at Madison Computer Works. Every day we help home users and businesses keep their computers and networks running smoothly. For solutions to your computer problems, call the pros at 231-8000, and we'll turn this into this. Madison Computer Works. Computers that work for you.
It's your girl, Brandy Grayson, the hostess with the mostest of the Black Conversion Show. And I'm inviting you to the Black Brilliance Gala hosted by Urban Triage on Saturday, May 31st at the Overture Center for the Arts. Join us for an elegant night celebrating unsung heroes. For ticket information and to learn about sponsorship opportunities, please visit us at urbantriage.org. That's urbantriage.org.
Found an injured, sick, or orphaned wild animal? Dane County Humane Society's Wildlife Center can help. Call 608-287-3235 or visit giveshelter.org/wildlife for what to do next.
This is Chad Spate. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we
wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 22 now past the hour at 2 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, the 28th of April, 2025. Glad to have you along. Thanks to Mike Clemens. Many thanks. Our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens. And I'm sure he had a great time, but I think a lot of you get to be at the draft. I mean, lucky you. You have it easy. You get paid to do that. And I know he loves it, but I think what a lot of people don't understand, particularly a guy like Mike, I didn't have time to ask him, but I bet he wasn't just meandering around having hot dogs. I mean, because it was held in Green Bay, he told us this last week, they're in kind of their usual room, like in Lambeau. I don't know if there's any windows or not. And they're working. They're working their rear ends off to get these cuts, to get these stories. And sure, it's cool that you're there, but I mean, just nobody works harder at these things and has the inside track better than Mike Clemens. And we appreciate him so very much.
Yeah, keeping the inside track on anything, but I mean, I would say particularly modern sports with the celebrity status of so many athletes, it really takes a lot of work to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah.
And basically you just have to always be on top of it and always be in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And it's a skill that he's developed.
No, he's fantastic. We always appreciate him stopping by. Mike Clemens. As we said, the Bucks, just to clarify, may have slipped up on the other side, but it was confirmed about a half hour ago by the Bucks organization that Damian Lillard has a torn ACL
Achilles.
Or Achilles. I'm sorry.
Achilles is the one
I said ACL. It's a torn Achilles. So thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification there, Zomer. So wow, as we said with Mike. I mean, this team, the Bucks, this is a must-get-win game now in Tuesday in Indianapolis. So we'll see. As Giannis said earlier, one of Mike's reports, they have a great attitude. Next man up. Just you got to find a way to win. But their backs are against the wall, and lots of money on the table, as Mike said. And now Dame out for well into next year, if not the entire year. So we shall see. But the Milwaukee Brewers have the day off, travel day for them. They are going kind of sort of back home, back to the Midwest, but going to Chicago. They start a 3-game series with the Chicago White Sox tomorrow night across the Civic Media Brewers Radio Network. 6:05 pregame show in Richland Center, Oshkosh, Park Falls, Hayward, Racine, Kenosha. Brewers taking on the White Sox for 3 games starting tomorrow at 6:05. And then finally, they're back in Milwaukee on Friday for a series against the dreaded Chicago Cubs. The Cubbies in town starting on Friday. So Brewers got to win last night. Hopefully they can continue on into Chicago tomorrow night. Want to get into a couple of newsy things for you over the weekend. Going to talk about, we started this on Friday, major things ahead for Congress, because sometimes some of these more politically media sexy things take precedent, and we're going to get into that. But I want to start with 60 Minutes. For those of you who watch the broadcast, still one of the most highly rated programs on television. 60 Minutes every night on the Tiffany Network, CBS. In the last minute, Scott Pelley, longtime 60 Minutes correspondent, at one time the evening news anchor on CBS, and he closed the show. We're going to play it, and we're going to talk about it. Here's 60 Minutes. Here's Scott Pelley in the last minute of 60 Minutes.
In tonight's last minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. He covered the world, covered combat, the White House. His was a quest to open minds, not close them. If you've ever worked hard for a boss because you admired him, then you understand what we've enjoyed here. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires. No one here is happy about it, but in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along. I'm Scott Pelley. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
And thus closed last night's episode of 60 Minutes on CBS last night, the great Scott Pelley. I thought it was particularly well written and delivered, as Pelley always does. I really fell in love with Scott Pelley's delivery and anchoring abilities during the 2016 election when he was anchoring the CBS News, because he really stepped in to this, in my opinion, Edward R. Murrow-esque role. Of course, Edward R. Murrow, the longtime CBS man who ended up losing his job because back in his day, he took on the company basically for similar reasons. And then the book, I think, was a book first, and the movie Good Night and Good Luck. And now it's a Broadway show with George Clooney in the title character out in New York. And so there's a history at CBS of people just saying that, telling it like it is. And we talked about this, I know, last week, but for this to come to a head over the weekend and for 60 Minutes and Pelley to say this on the air, on their own network, and call out their own network, I thought was extraordinary. I thought it took courage, and it was refreshing. And kudos to them. We're going to come back and talk about this. 855-752-4842. Your calls are welcome. 855-752-4842. What does this really mean in the context of what Trump's plans are long term? What does it mean for democracy? Come on back. Stay tuned now. A little ag update, sports, and weather. You're listening to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
Many parents may not realize whole milk in the school lunch program is forbidden. I'm PM Yankee with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Monday. And Wisconsin dairy producers are paying attention to that. They're also working to change the guidelines that school lunch programs have to adhere to. Gail Klinkner is from the Westby area. She is not only a member of the Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin Board, she also sits on the National Dairy Promotion and Research Board. She says right now there is a bill pending in Washington, D.C. to try to turn dairy consumption in schools around.
The dietary guidelines from several years ago where there was the unsureness of what the benefits of whole milk and 2% dairy could provide to our students and for healthy kids. So this bill now aims to give schools more flexibility in offering different milk options, including whole milk. And of course, you know, I would encourage dairy farmers and local community members that understand the benefits of whole milk and 2% milk, you know, to reach out to their elected officials and voice their support of this legislation as we move along.
Gail Klinkner, she is a Westby area dairy producer who also sits on the National Dairy Research and Promotion Board. She says studies show whole milk helps with muscle recovery and cognitive ability in students. That's why they're working diligently to allow schools the option of whole milk in their school lunch plan again.
With Clarifly Larvicide, you get more than just a fly control product. You get more support, more expertise, and more control to prevent the emergence of nuisance flies from the manure of treated cattle by as much as 96%. It is perfectly blended in your mineral supplement to become a part of what you are already doing, feeding your cattle. Get control of flies with a comprehensive program built around Clarifly Larvicide and Starbar products. To learn more about Clarifly Larvicide, contact your local feed dealer or visit centralflycontrol.com.
When it's time to choose a residual herbicide for your soybeans, you need broad-spectrum weed control that lasts. Zidua Pro and Zidua SC herbicides by BASF give your crop up to 2 more weeks of residual weed control, providing 50% more control than other Group 15 residuals. The long-lasting herbicide portfolio protects your soybeans from even the toughest weeds while providing a steady growing environment for the entire season. Talk to your retailer today about adding Zidua Pro and Zidua SC herbicides to your 2025 plan. Always read and follow label directions.
And PepsiCo says they are accelerating their efforts to get away from dyes in their snacks. That means, according to PepsiCo, you might see different colors in Cheetos and Doritos. They say they're trying to move the whole portfolio into natural colors, or at least provide the consumer with natural color options.
The cheese
I'm PM
color?
Yankee.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Thunderstorms are expected today in multiple rounds, and some could be severe, bringing hail, high winds, and heavy downpours. And tornadoes are possible too. Some could start out ahead of the line moving in late tonight. So stay weather savvy from this afternoon through about midnight. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 77 degrees at our studios.
The John and Gordy Show.
We have as our special guest Mike McCabe.
What they are trying to do is finance $4 trillion worth of tax cuts for the rich. We've got a whole bunch of billionaires who don't pay taxes, and we are deporting people who do pay taxes. Yeah. So, you know, I said it's not like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We're throwing paying passengers overboard to make more room for a bigger first class for those freeloaders who are lounging there.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
Day 1, the hardest day. The day you hear,
"This is a type of blood cancer.
But day one is just one day. At the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, we are here to help you move past day one.
On day 45, I discovered an online community who shared great tips for in-treatment care.
Gracias.
I missed a lot of school during treatment.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 35 now past the hour of 2 o'clock on Monday, April 28th. Kind of a chill vibe there, Zommers. What do you dial up?
Truth and Honesty by Aretha Franklin.
Oh, very nice. I didn't know that was the beginning of Truth and Honesty. Wow. See, I learned something every day just from our great producer, Aaron Zommers. Think what you can learn. No, most of the people tuning in probably have a better music knowledge than I do. But it's always, that's one of my favorite parts. Occasionally, Zommers will surprise me.
And sometimes it'll be a good song.
And most of the time it is. Most of the time it is.
Sometimes it's not.
A quick, it's rare. A quick weather update for you as Brittany Merlot there in the break talked about very unsettled weather today across the state of Wisconsin. Current temperatures 74 degrees here in the capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. Meanwhile, in Superior, Wisconsin, it's 42. That is absolutely fertile breeding ground for bad weather.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I want to update you. Particularly, this is for our listeners in the Wausau area, WXCO, and also our listeners in the Wisconsin Rapids area as well. Strong storms. Looking at live weather radar right now. We have a strong cell literally just moving over the city of Wausau proper right now. And then behind that, there's another kind of larger cell, almost a line, really, that goes from Abbotsford down through, say, McMillan, and then Marshfield area, all the way down to Pittsville, which is just west of Wisconsin Rapids. These storms are moving to the east, northeast, at around 50 miles per hour, and have produced up to half-inch size hail. So it's just under technically the severe thunderstorm. They have to have 75 mile per hour winds for it to be technically a severe thunderstorm. But at 50 miles per hour, it's nothing to mess around with. So if you're in the Wausau area or just south and west of Wausau, say in McMillan and Marshfield, all the way down to Pittsville, that area, and then over towards Stevens Point even, and just north of Wisconsin Rapids, all that area right now, you are in the area for some strong storms right now. So just be aware of that and keep it tuned to your favorite weather source, because things are going to get better. You look around Wisconsin, like you're in Madison, you say, oh, it's great. I mean, the sun's kind of out. It's a warm day. Unfortunately, when you have these type of fronts moving through, and it's 74 in Madison, 66 in Milwaukee, 67 in Green Bay, and then 42 in Superior, what's going to happen is when the sun comes in this afternoon, it's actually going to warm up and destabilize the atmosphere. And so there is a chance across the state of Wisconsin at varying times between later this afternoon all the way through the early morning hours of tomorrow morning to have strong storms. There is a chance of tornadoes in some areas. Again, don't want to hype it up too much. There might be parts of Wisconsin that see little to anything. There are parts of Wisconsin that could see all the way to a tornado. So just be aware, be mindful, and keep an eye to the sky, and be aware of the weather as we go through this afternoon, tonight, and into the early morning hours tomorrow. Before the break, we played that the clip of Scott Pelley last night on 60 Minutes calling out his own network, CBS, for basically forcing the resignation of Bill Owens, the longtime executive producer of CBS's 60 Minutes, a great article in Cord Cutter News. It's kind of an insider media website, great website actually, cordcutternews.com. And they talk about Owens' departure making it a significant moment for 60 Minutes, a program synonymous with investigative journalism for nearly 6 decades. And what Pelly did not touch on there in calling out his network last night was that President Trump has sued CBS for $20 billion with a B, $20 billion over an October 2024 interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump alleges the interview was deceptively edited, a claim CBS has vehemently denied. And all accounts, eventually 60 Minutes did release the footage. And it's not deceptive. It's not deceptive at all. What happened was, as almost every interview with 60 Minutes, the correspondent sits down with the subject. The interview might go a half an hour. It might go an hour, depending upon how much time the person being interviewed said they'd sit for. Well, very rarely, most of these stories on 60 Minutes go 10-ish minutes, somewhere in there. And so you have to edit that down. And so, like almost every other story, the profile on Vice President Harris got edited down. Trump claimed that they edited it to change the meaning of what she said. When you saw the unedited video, it was clear that was not the case. Back to this article in Cord Cutter News, Owens' resignation also coincides with a critical juncture for CBS's parent company, Paramount. Sherry Redstone, Paramount's controlling holder, is reportedly seeking Trump administration approval for the sale of her media conglomerate to Skydance Media, led by David Ellison, son of Oracle founder Larry Ellison. The New York Times reported in January that Paramount was in settlement talks with Trump, and that Owens the head of the Owens, who was running 60 Minutes, had resisted apologizing for the Harris interview as part of any potential deal. NBC News has not independently verified these claims. In his memo, Owens remained defiant about the mission of CBS and 60 Minutes, saying, quote, "We will continue to cover the new administration as we report on future administrations. We'll report from war zones, investigate injustices, and educate our audience. In short, 60 Minutes will do what it has done for 57 years," unquote. That from a memo obtained by NBC News from Owens. Wendy McMahon, president and CEO of CBS News, informed employees via an email of Owens' departure, praising his contributions. Apparently, Wendy McMahon's been very much on the side of 60 Minutes and Bill Owens. But again, to kind of summarize this, Bill Owens, who runs 60 Minutes, was asked by the head honchos at Paramount, hey, can you do us a solid? Trump wants an apology as part of this settlement. It's not just about the money. Can you just apologize for what you guys did at 60 Minutes, and then we can move on? And Owens, to his credit, said, no. We didn't do anything wrong. And I'm not going to start apologizing just because my parent company wants to make a deal, a merger, and make a lot of money and lay off more employees to satisfy Trump. That is bending a knee to our institutional integrity. And there are not a lot of people left, in my opinion, in this business, in the media business, who are interested in institutional integrity and maintaining truth. And Bill Owens is one. So he said, no, we're not going to apologize at 60 Minutes for what we did. And so the head honchos at Paramount decided to put on more pressure. It's unclear whether Owens was going to get fired or whether he did this to send a message. And there was this meeting, as we reported last week, a meeting with all the correspondents of 60 Minutes and Owens, in which he told them first. And as Scott Pelley said, nobody was happy about this at 60 Minutes. But it sends an important message. This from another place called The Wrap. It's an online, I follow them on Twitter. It's an industry magazine, if you will, site. Says, according to the Rapid, this is a different story now, but it's connected. I'm going to tell you how. Says, days after President Donald Trump's victory in 2024's presidential election, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav expressed enthusiasm about a new administration potentially creating greater, quote, opportunity for consolidation, unquote, that would, quote, provide a real positive and accelerated impact on this industry that's needed, unquote. Zoloff did add that it's, quote, too early to tell, unquote, whether these hopes would materialize. But he missed a more significant disclaimer that merger and acquisition dreams can quickly become nightmares if your news organization angers the president. That's chilling to me. The story goes on to say CEOs might eventually get what they want in negotiating deals. The main question is whether they'll be forced to throw their news operations under the bus in order to achieve those aims. That from the Wrap. And this is where it gets dystopian. That major news corporations, and really entertainment, really, of which their news divisions are a part of the entertainment, in order for these deals to get approved by Trump-controlled FCC, they're going to have to be willing to compromise and capitulate to a certain degree to not tick off Trump and his administration. And this becomes a slippery slope because you have good people like the folks at CBS, 60 Minutes, and I would say the vast majority of their reporters are fair and great news people. We had this story in the Wisconsin Judge last week from, I can't say his name. I had it on the tip of my tongue. See, Mad Cowsomers, that's what it is there. Scott McFarland. Scott McFarland, great reporter. Follows the Justice Department, followed all the J6 stuff. Tells it exactly like it is. Has great integrity as a reporter. But how many of these people are going to be allowed to tell the truth even when it ticks off Trump? Without the parent company, whether it be Paramount, whether it be Discovery, Warner Brothers, Comcast, saying, guys, gals, that can you just tone it down a little bit there on that story? And people are going to have to decide. News people are going to have to decide what is more important to me. My paycheck, paying my bills, supporting my family, or my internal morals and character, my journalistic integrity. And again, I bring you back to Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, who calls himself the cool dictator, quote unquote. One of the first things Bukele did when he became president in 2019 in El Salvador was to start intimidating the two major newspapers, sources in El Salvador, La Prensa Gráfica and Diario de Hoy. La Prensa was considered a more conservative paper. La Dia de Hoy was the more liberal paper, loosely. And they started writing when Nayib Bukele started intimidating the Salvadoran Supreme Court. They started writing articles, op-eds on him. And Bukele basically intimidated those two things to become their cheerleaders for Bukele. Trump has seen the blueprint in El Salvador, and he's trying to do it right here in the United States of America. 855-752-4842. Back after this in the Civic Media Radio Network.
Wisconsin as a fish fry on a Friday night. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down. Get it going slower. Izervay is proven to slow GA
You heard this
progression.
before? No, never.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase
Now,
eye
LA
pressure.
Tom, I'm not sure you have
Vision
to
may be
cancel your
impaired after an
Paramount
eye
Plus
injection or
membership. I'm
exam.
not
Don't
canceling
delay. Ask your
mine
doctor about
because I like the
Izervay
programming
today.
on there. I don't think we have to. I don't know. I think it's just more important to speak out about
Visit
it. Right?
izervay.com.
And to support those reporters like Scott Pelley and others who are standing up. Right?
An unsuspecting driver at a Milwaukee barbershop.
I got an apprentice here shadowing me. I'm put this hot towel on, man. About a good 3 minutes, all right?
The apprentice is Donald Driver.
So when you come here, you drive? Yes. Your car got seatbelts?
Yeah.
You wear them?
No.
Okay, but why not?
I don't want to.
But do you know you can get a ticket for that? I'm going to give you a ticket. Bet you wish you buckle up now.
Oh, my God. Donald Driver can't always be there to remind you.
Take it, click it. There we go. Click it or ticket.
And let's reduce fatalities on Wisconsin roadways. Sponsored by Wisconsin DOT.
The John and Gordy Show.
Do we have as our special guest Mike McCabe?
What they are trying to do is finance $4 trillion worth of tax cuts for the rich. We've got a whole bunch of billionaires who don't pay taxes, and we are deporting people who do pay taxes. Yeah. So, I said it's not like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We're throwing paying passengers overboard to make more room for a bigger first class for those freeloaders who are lounging there.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel.
Ross calling in.
Thanks for your show. I'm just wondering if we're watching or witnessing a legal system where what we thought was precedent is now going to be sort of cast away.
The reality is the question that you raise about the future and what are the implications when in fact the things we understood always to be bedrocks of our community, of our nation, are no longer that.
Amicus, a law review, Saturday mornings from 9 to 11.
Every year, millions of pets go missing, leaving families heartbroken. If you lose or find a pet, Love Lost is here to help. Our
30 seconds.
free, easy-to-use platform uses photo match.
Wherever it may lead, and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 52 minutes now past the hour of 2 o'clock. Coming up at 3 o'clock, a little news, weather, and sports update for you. Give you a traffic report after the top of the hour. A little what's worse for you as well. Right now, talking about what Scott Pelley did on 60 Minutes last night, calling out his own network, Paramount, for putting pressure on executive producer Bill Owens to compromise their journalistic integrity. Owens resigned. And then talking about this larger story at the Wrap, other corporations like Discovery, Time Warner, basically having to say, well, to get some of these larger corporation deals done, what's best for our corporation, we may, keyword may, have to appease the Trump administration when it comes to our news division. L.A. Tom watching on YouTube, saying he's going to cancel his Paramount Plus membership today. Well, LA, I don't know you need to do that. Number one, I subscribe to Paramount because I'm a big Star Trek fan. That's where all the Star Trek stuff is at, and other programs as well. I would say, just my personal opinion, I think that's the kind of thing you do after we find out that Paramount has stopped a story at CBS. I think we have to stand by Scott Pelley and those journalists at CBS and 60 Minutes who are still doing, by their own reporting and mission, that as Pelly said last night, none of our stories have been stopped. It hasn't come to that yet. It's kind of a clarion call, right? So I think we have to continue to support journalists who are doing good things at Paramount or CBS or other places. I think we just cancel subscriptions is when it comes out and they say that something's been stopped at the news division. Just my 2 cents. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Gene up in beautiful Eau Claire on WCFW, The Tap. Gene, any strong storms come through there yet?
Not yet, but I have to tell you, you're doing an outstanding job there, sir.
Well, thank you.
Getting this information to the people, because this is the worst thing that they can start doing is messing with the press and messing with information. And I do, by the way, have that good night and good luck. Mm-hmm. And another thing too that I think is really important is what people can do, not stop their subscriptions, but what they can do is write to these people and say, hey, we're watching. We appreciate you giving us the truth, and that's why we support you, and we want you to keep on giving us the truth. Just like civic media, giving the truth, outstanding coverage, outstanding talk show host, and the people behind the machine there answering the phones and keeping the shows running. And so I just want to say that, and really and seriously, this is unbelievable. And keep up the protests. I'm watching these protests. I love them signs. Get those signs out there. Trump hates this because he can't hide it. So thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Love you.
Thanks, Gene.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Thank you so much. 855-752-4842. Let's go to Madison, WMDX Joe in Madison. Joe, we were calling your name out on Friday or Thursday for the draft because you were on, you called in when Matt Rothschild was guest hosting last week, and this great backstory on Vince Lombardi and the Packers, and we credited you, and I didn't tell as well as you could, but I appreciate you calling into to Matt's show, and we gave you credit, so thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's a great story, and it really focuses on the fact that if you want to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, the star of that in our state was Vince Lombardi, and look at the result. The result has been fantastic. If people want to check out that article, it's at Packers.com, and it's really, really good. So, and happy to talk more about that. I just wanted to add in on the 60 Minutes thing, and I shouldn't laugh because this is awfully, awfully serious, but it just gives you a sense of just how far down the rabbit hole we have gone. There was apparently this is out of LATimes.com, and they were talking about the fact that a lawsuit has been ongoing, and that Trump has doubled down on the amount that he's requesting. I believe it is $20 billion that he's now looking at, and this is the part that just killed me, Todd. He apparently, Trump supporters were looking at the fact. First off, both Trump and Harris were allowed the opportunity to be interviewed on 60 Minutes. Harris went on. Trump declined. Okay, he had his forum and he declined.
Correct.
Okay, so her interview ran on 60 Minutes. And they pulled clips from what they had from the whole interview because, as you know, our interview, they don't air the whole hour usually. It's edited down. This is standard industry practice. It's not particularly new to 60 Minutes. Everybody does this. You do it if you're editing an interview. Everyone does. So at any rate, the point of view I would like to add in is just this comment so we know what we're dealing with, which is there was a chunk that was aired on Sunday morning shows and then another chunk that was aired on 60 Minutes. And they are all, get their undies in a bundle because they said there was a different answer that was given. So in this, Trump's team accused Harris of being a weak candidate. And get this, prone to uttering word salad, jumbles of exceptionally incoherent speech, and that CBS manipulated the interview to make her appear more coherent and decisive, and thus the product, her, being more commercially appealing to people. Whoa, are you kidding me? Talking about word salad? What a riot. This is hysterical.
And the thing,
absolutely hysterical.
Not to cut you off, Joe, but I mean, to your point, once CBS did finally, release the entire thing, it's completely false. I mean,
exactly.
the charge is completely false.
Yeah, I mean, and just pretty funny that this guy's talking about incoherent word salads. I mean,
Right.
I mean, let's just make that the next item that we have at our diner, the incoherent word salad. You can also call it the Trump special. So, and anyway, I shouldn't be laughing about this. It's incredibly serious because if the press goes down, we're going down, people, and it's really, really important. Thanks a lot, Todd. Appreciate
My
the
pleasure.
chance.
Thank you for listening, Joe. It's great listeners like Joe and Gene and everybody else. I mean, you guys are the ones that, keep us going, both just kind of from a emotional standpoint, but also, support the people that advertise on our stations, and that keeps us going as well. Going to come back with a What's Worse in Hour 2 and some more news headlines as well. Your phone calls. It's the Allbaugh Show for Monday. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic
would you
Media
look at that?
station.
Trump has now officially endorsed Derek Van Orden.
ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. The White House is
surprise.
touting the administration's crackdown on illegal migrants as President Trump marks 100 days in office tomorrow. ABC's Karen Travers with details.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said that they're very pleased so far with their efforts on deportations. He said at the briefing that they have had 139,000 deportations so far. He's happy with that number, but of course, this is an effort that they say will be ongoing and continue to be quite robust.
An FA-18 fighter jet rolled off the side of an aircraft carrier and sunk to the bottom of the Red Sea, the Navy said today. One sailor sustained minor injuries. Another also survived. Both the jet and the tow tractor went overboard. In Florida, authorities are still trying to determine exactly what caused last night's deadly collision between two vessels off Clearwater. One person was killed, 10 others injured when a boat ran into a ferry vessel carrying 45 people. That boat, police say, left the scene and was later identified. This is ABC News.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The Madison School's athletic director has given an impassioned plea asking the WIAA to reverse their policy on trans athletes. After President Donald Trump took office, the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association changed its rules, barring trans kids from competing in girls' sports. WIAA leaders said they were complying with federal policy. At the yearly meeting last week, Madison Metropolitan School District Athletic Director Jeremy Schlitz said this change harms children.
Do not allow athletics to be a cause for mental health issues and irreversible harm. Our commitment to equitable, inclusive, and welcoming communities demands that all students, including transgender students, have the opportunity to learn teamwork, leadership, self-discipline through sports, a right protected by Title IX.
Schlitz called on the WIAA to allow a vote at next year's annual meeting. So
You know those 2000s ads, like you wouldn't steal a car, the anti-piracy ads? Like piracy is not a victimless crime.
Following federal directives
So,
of this policy. Jimmy Kuska reports on
it
the
is
changes
now
they
in
made at
the
that
spotlight
meeting.
again, as it turns out the font they used is one they did not have permission for. They pirated a font in their anti-piracy commercial.
Name, image, and likeness opportunities for high school student athletes easily passed.
Supporting the motion, 293. Denying the motion, 108. Motion passes.
Also passing was a requirement for spectators ejected from events to take an online course in sportsmanship in addition to serving a one-game suspension in order to return. Summer coaching contact days were expanded from a 5-day restriction to include all but the week of July 4th in June and July. And limits for freshman teams were changed to match JV and varsity teams. A measure that would have exempted cross-country from the tournament performance factor failed. The 4 new measures go into effect at the end of May when the WIAA publishes its bulletin.
That's Jimmy Kuska reporting. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
Bad news for the Bucks. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, the Bucks' Damian Lillard has suffered a torn Achilles tendon.
The anti-piracy agency who created it was reached out to for comment, and they said, well, nobody who made that works here anymore. So
the Pacers in their playoff game last night in Milwaukee. Lillard, who turns 35 this
and the
summer,
person who made the font
next year.
said,
head coach Doc Rivers.
I knew my font was used for the campaign and that somebody had made a pirated clone of it. I did not know that they used the pirated clone and not paid for the actual one. So that's new to me, but I find it hilarious.
More important, like as a teammate and a father and all that stuff. And, no one deserves it. But golly, you just look at him. And so that's why I feel bad.
The Bucks play the Pacers in Indiana tomorrow night at 5. Milwaukee down 3-1 in that best-of-7 series. Baseball, the Brewers beat the Cardinals 7-1 to snap a 4-game losing streak. They head to Chicago next to play the White Sox tomorrow night. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Thunderstorms are expected today in multiple rounds, and some could be severe, bringing hail, high winds, and heavy downpours. And tornadoes are possible too. Some could start out ahead of the line moving in late tonight. So stay weather savvy from this afternoon through about midnight. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, 78 degrees.
The John and Gordy Show.
Do we have as our special guest Mike McCabe?
What they are trying to do is finance $4 trillion worth of tax cuts for the rich. We've got a whole bunch of billionaires who don't pay taxes, and we are deporting people who do pay taxes.
Yeah.
So, I said it's not like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We're throwing paying passengers overboard to make more room for a bigger first class for those freeloaders who are lounging there.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. The Maggie Dawn Show.
Check out my war plans. Pete Hegseth talking about first big strike against the Houthis in Yemen on Signal, 2 separate channels. Yes, the one you heard about before with the reporter on it. Oops-a-daisy. And now also his wife, his bro, and his lawyer who magically got hired by the Pentagon.
We didn't get to what's worse on Friday, did we?
No, we didn't.
Do you
I
think
didn't think so.
Hegseth should probably resign?
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekday afternoons
About
4
25
until
seconds.
6
All right,
on your
thanks.
local Civic Media.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 3 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program on this Monday, back to work and back to school, the 28th of April, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Glad to have you along and start the work week once again. Coming up a little what's worse for you. And then we're going to finish up what we started on Friday. Major things ahead for Congress. Lots of things to take our attention. The draft was great to have Mike Clemens on hour 1 talking about the draft. That's important. Damian Lillard out for the rest of the season and probably most of next year. A torn Achilles, right? A torn Achilles. Must-win situation for the Bucks in Indy tomorrow night. So all that's important. All that's taking our attention, but what we I don't think, talk about enough is what's happening in Congress and some of these proposals that Trump is putting forward and how that might impact us here in Wisconsin. Speaking of Wisconsin, Dan Schaefer, our great political editor here at Civic Media, letting us know in the last 20 minutes, Donald Trump endorsing Derek Van Orton, Republican incumbent in the 3rd District on the western side of Wisconsin. As Gomer Pyle once said, surprise, surprise, surprise. No, not really. It's not a surprise at all. Rebecca Cook, the only Democrat so far who has announced that she is going to challenge Van Orton. We'll see if more Democrats get in very early, obviously, year and a half out. But Trump, interesting though, the timing. Interesting the timing. Republicans must feel that Van Orton is vulnerable for Trump already to be out there trying to save his guy. DVO. More of that as it comes forward. Right now at 8 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock, we start our drive time weather and traffic check for you. Speaking of weather, first of all, Be aware, as we've been talking about all afternoon long, current temperatures across the state of Wisconsin, it is a wide variety. In Superior, Wisconsin right now, it is 42 degrees. 42. Here in downtown Madison, 77. That is a wide variety. So as you see sunshine in parts of the state, unfortunately, that is not a great thing today because of those wide temperatures across the state. That sets up a front. And as that moves through the warm air, as the sun comes out, and it destabilizes the atmosphere, and that creates some weather difficulties. We've been tracking one cell in particular this afternoon moving across the state of Wisconsin. This storm has a history of 50-mile-per-hour winds and half-inch size hail. We zoom into live weather radar right now. This is affecting the Wausau area. Right now, this cell is over the city of Wausau. So for our listeners at WXCO, be aware of that all the way up to Merrill. So from Merrill, basically all the way down to Mosinee. It just moved through the Mosinee area, and this is headed to the west, northwest, pardon me, east-northeast. There we go. East-northeast at around 50 miles per hour. If you live in Antigo right now, be aware this storm is headed towards you. Wittenberg area, this storm is headed towards you. Gresham could also pick up some of these strong storms. And again, these at 50-mile-per-hour winds just under the severe limit, so it's not a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but it's a very strong weather system indeed. And just over the last 30 minutes or so, two more cells have popped up in an area where it went through before, just north of Black River Falls. So our listeners on WFCW, the TAP up there in the Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls area, these storms are east of Eau Claire, just north of Black River Falls. So be aware of that. Neelsville area, looks like you're probably going to get hit again, not with severe storms, but with heavy storms right now. These storms are going to continue to pop up throughout the afternoon and into the evening, overnight hours. Be aware, again, some parts of the state might not get much at all, but other places may get some very strong storms. We just want you to be aware of that. In terms of traffic right now in the Madison area for WMDX listeners, nothing really, no road closures, no super slowdowns, but parts of the Beltline, there are some cars that have been disabled and off on the shoulder. So be aware, you might get some gawkers out there that are slowing down traffic, but no major traffic accidents in the Madison metro area at this time. For our listeners on WAUK, Waukesha area, particularly the suburbs, once again, kind of normal afternoon drive time slowdowns on Highway 41 going north and south from I-94 all the way up to alternate 43. So Highway 41 north and south slowdowns there. And also in the Milwaukee metro area, I-43 going north and south, north of the interstate there of 94. You're going to find the normal slowdowns there for you as well. So allow some extra time, as they say, on this Monday afternoon. It is coming up on 12 minutes past, I should say just past 12 past. It's past 12 past. It's coming
but
up.
Not past 12 past 12.
No, it's
past 12 past 3.
It's almost 13 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get
Time
with
once
that.
again for What's Worse. No prize money involved, nothing to give away, but it is your opportunity to have your voice heard across the state of Wisconsin on all 11 news talk sports stations of the Civic Media Radio Network. No better way to have your voice, to have your products, your business advertised than right here on Civic Media. Go to civicmedia.us to find out how you can join the Civic Media team. Weather, obviously, in the news today, so our What's Worse, timely indeed. Pretty simple. As Amherst and I may disagree. See what you think. The category for today, no clouds or cloudy. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Download it today, your Apple, Android device. Go to your app store. Go to the search bar. Type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. It'll pop up a little CM logo. Click on that. Takes less than a minute. It is free. It won't cost you a dime. We're pretty chill. The Civic Media app. Download it today and text in your answer as well. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. For those watching on Facebook, Twitter, X, Twix, as Craig Ferguson dubbed it, YouTube as well. Great graphic by CP today. No clouds, has a beach, a beautiful beach, not a cloud in the sky, bright sunshine. And the other is kind of a, it actually looks like a coffee farm if you want the truth, and very cloudy. So what's worse, clouds or no clouds? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to Milwaukee, WAUK. Brian, listening in Milwaukee. Brian, no clouds or cloudy? What's worse?
Well, that's a tough one because there's pros and cons to both.
Right.
With no clouds, you got a lot of sun, and it can be, the sun beating down, you can get a real bad sunburn really quick. But then the other thing is if it's cloudy and overcast, the humidity is going to get trapped in the clouds, and then you just sweat like a pig.
Right.
So, the thing was, I cut the grass earlier today, and it was funny because during the hour of cutting grass, the sun kept coming in and out and in and out and in and out. I was just like, well, you make up your mind, for Pete's sake. Either I'm going to get a sunburn or I'm going to be humid the whole time.
Right?
But I would probably have to say what's worse would be probably the sun being out, just because I know I burn like a crisp.
All right.
Doesn't matter how much sun lotion I put on.
Got it. No, I get it. Some people are very sensitive to that. So thanks, Brian. We appreciate your listenership. Thanks for being along with us. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? Give us a call. You can also text us on the Civic Media app, like Steve in Mount Horeb listening on WMDX. Steve says it depends on the temperature.
That's totally fair.
All right. That's fair indeed. Give us a call. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? Zommers, you want to weigh in?
I think, it is a tough one. Because I think I am genetically predisposed to being an underground dweller.
Were you a hobbit in another life?
A really, really tall hobbit, I think. For many reasons I don't need to get into, I don't tolerate heat well. My eyes are very sensitive to sunlight. And so having no clouds is difficult because I need sunglasses and a hat or I will not be able to open my eyes. And also I'll probably burn and get really sweaty. But if it's cloudy and it's really humid, I will still also get sweaty, but at least I'll be able to see. So I'm going to say no clouds is worse.
No clouds is worse for you. No clouds is worse, you're saying.
For me. But I understand I'm not what you would call normal.
Well, I wouldn't say you're a sensitive person to heat and light. You're better off in a dark, cool room.
Yes, very much
You're
so.
like a potato or a rutabaga.
Certain plants.
You live well in a root cellar.
You see all these foods that say store in a cool, dry place, and that's me.
Store Zommers in a cool, dry place. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. We'll see if we get a couple more calls here before I give you mine. Or while we're waiting, here's an interesting fact related to artificial intelligence, one of my favorite subjects. A late 2024 survey found that 67% of U.S. respondents reported being nice to their chatbots. Of those who practice courtesy, 55% of American AI users said they do it because it's the right thing to do, while 12% did it to appease the algorithm in the case of an AI uprising. That is one paragraph in an article entitled "Sam Altman Admits That Saying Please and Thank You to ChatGPT is Wasting Millions of Dollars in Computing Power." You can read the full article at futurism.com. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I saw that article too.
Really? By saying please and thank you to your chatbot, you're wasting millions of dollars in computing power?
Yeah, it's just more things it has to process and figure out what's important for your questions.
855-752-4842. Let's go out to the RC quickly. WRCE Whistler in Richland Center. Whistler, you got to make it fast, but no clouds or cloudy. What's worse, Whistler?
No clouds.
No clouds.
Cloudy, actually.
Oh,
cloudy, because then I can't see the northern lights.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That if you have clouds, you can't see the northern lights or the Milky Way or anything else. All right, Whistler, we appreciate it. Have a great day out there in Richland Center. Was just out there over the weekend. Beautiful, beautiful country out there. Come on back. We'll wrap up what's worse and talk about the budget and Congress on the other side. You're listening to the Todd Allbaugh Show, and you're listening to Cross Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Buying a home is a lot like eating pistachios. Some deals pop right open, some take a little effort, and some make you want to grab a hammer. That's why you need Aaron Weber Group. We do the heavy lifting so you don't break a nail or your sanity trying to crack into the housing market. We've got the perfect place where you can eat pistachios in every room. So don't shell out your life savings on a bad deal. Call Aaron Weber Group, powered by Compass, today. We'll get you into a home that's nothing but perfect.
Spring is here. Make your lawn the envy of the neighborhood with EB3 Landscaping. With 15 years of top quality service, they treat your property like their own. 608-209-2185 for expert care and a vibrant tomorrow.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for the people. As if the Federal Election Commission didn't have enough problems, another member has reportedly chosen not to continue when his term runs out April 30th. That leaves the normally 6-member commission with 3 and unable to conduct business. FEC members are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, and by law should have 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. A Republican member, Sean Cooksey, resigned effective January 20th, and days later, President Donald Trump fired, likely illegally, FEC Chair Democrat Alan Weintraub in a 1-sentence letter. That left the minimum number of commissioners to conduct business until now. News outlet Notice is reporting that Republican Commissioner
That's been my experience as well.
Steps down April 30th, leaving only 3 members and no quorum. The
Got to be able to sit out there in the rain a little bit if you want to get the best fishing.
Numbers will cease hearings, rulemaking, and actions on campaign finance complaints for the 4th time in its history. 2 previous shutdowns were in 2019 and 2020 during the first Trump administration. Donald Trump, subject of scores of past and present campaigns.
Fun doing it. 22 past the hour of 3 o'clock across the state of Wisconsin. Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. Take a look at traffic around the state. Start of your rush hour. Start of your drive time. In the greater Milwaukee area, I mean, it's pretty far west of Milwaukee. More Wauwatosa area. From the Interstate 94 going east and west, Highway 41, Interstate 41, going north and south, really now pretty much all the way from Menominee Falls all the way down to, just east of West or west of West Allis and the interstate. That entire line of Highway 41 north and south. Lots of slowdowns right now in both directions, really starting to go from yellow into red there, as is Interstate 43 north and south from Highway 94 up to I-90. Going to be slow on both 41 north and south, and 43 north and south. So be prepared for those slowdowns in your afternoon commute. Talking about what's worse right now. What's worse, no clouds or cloudy? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Pleased to have Judy with us in Lodi, who says, she's listening on WMDX, says, worse is no clouds. I don't like it too bright and sunny. It makes it harder to see while driving, and I hate being blinded by the light. I'm not a morning person with bright lights at all. So there you go. She's saying worse is no clouds, that she doesn't like the sun. So thanks, Judy. Appreciate you listening up there in beautiful Lodi. Also, Sean, back in the RC, WRCE in Richland Center, saying no clouds is worse. The fish bite better on a cloudy day. Well, there you go. From a fisherman right there. And you agreed with that over the break, right?
Yeah, sometimes you got to be willing to sit out in the rain a little bit if you want to get the best fishing time.
Makes them bite a little bit better, right? What's your thought? No clouds or cloudy? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842.
What do you think?
I will, for me personally, because I'm a light. I like light. I like the sun. I mean, I don't mind a rainy day once in a while. I mean, once in a while, it's just, especially during the summer, kind of like an afternoon light, not like damaging, but a nice afternoon or evening thunderstorm with kind of gentle rain I find that kind of therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. To sit out on the porch and just be in that atmosphere and smell that is great.
No, I think that's therapeutic. But in general, like, I don't like a string of cloudy days. That kind of gets me down. Kind of depressed. I'm a light person. I like the sun. So for me personally, I would say cloudy is worse. So Zommers and I disagree. He's a no clouds is worse kind of guy. I'm overall a cloudy day is worse for me.
I figured we'd probably disagree on that one, given how much time you spend in El Salvador. And
yeah, well, not lately, but yes.
Well, how much time you have spent in El Salvador.
Yeah, beaches, love that. I like that. It's just, I enjoy it. All right, that was fun. What's worse for today? Join us tomorrow in hour number 2 for another edition of What's Worse. We started this on Friday. Want to get to it today. Going to start it, pick it up after the bottom of the hour break. Major things ahead for Congress. Want to quickly recap a couple of things we talked about on Friday. One of them are rescissions. Expect Congress to get President Trump's list of suggested cuts, which they have now for current spending items. And they're known as rescissions. Now, the rescissions, it could be up to $9 billion in spending, according to Punchbowl. Great news source. And rescissions differ from traditional cuts by Congress because these are things that are affecting this year's spending instead of next biennium spending or next year's spending. Here, Trump is expected to propose current cuts, including possibly eliminating funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Could affect some 1,500 local public media stations, NPR and PBS. Once Trump proposes the rescissions, Congress has 45 legislative days to accept or amend them. Otherwise, his request lapses and funding stays intact. Number 2, reconciliations. When last we left Republican lawmakers, they had passed the first critical step toward expanding and extending Trump's tax cuts in a budget resolution. Remember that? A lot of people voted for that. Wisconsin Republican delegation voted for it. Said, no, we're not making cuts to anything. Well, they're kind of sort of technically right, because the rubber meets the road in reconciliation. This blueprint opens up the reconciliation process, quote unquote, and that allows Republicans to pass tax cuts and some other agenda items through the Senate with a simple majority vote. They do not have significant time if they want to make the deadline. The budget resolution sets a May 9th deadline for committees to write the tax cut portion of the bill. Doing this will not be easy. The budget resolution left most of the hard questions unanswered. Among them, how much spending must be cut and where those cuts will come from. How much should the debt ceiling increase? Which tax cuts should be added and for whom and for how long? Again, this is why I use the term where the rubber meets the road. Republicans got criticized, saying, well, you're cutting Medicaid. You're cutting programs that affect the most vulnerable. And guys like Derek Van Orton and Glenn Grothman and others said, no. Well, again, technically, they're not wrong, because what they passed first was kind of the larger scale thing. Now, to achieve those things, you can't move forward unless you make those cuts. But now they have to vote. Now they have to make those cuts in those programs that they said they weren't going to. You can't have it both ways, boys. 855-752-4842. Back after this, we'll get more into the major things ahead for the United States Congress and how it affects Wisconsin. It's the Allbaugh Show at Civic Media on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Potato planting has begun here in Wisconsin, but there are still some worries ahead. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and Tamas Houlihan, the executive director of the Wisconsin Potato and Vegetable Growers Association, shares some of the worries that they have for this 2025 season.
I think we've already seen a slight decline in consumption of French fries, and while French fries are not a huge part of where Wisconsin potatoes end up, they are about 1/3 of the potatoes produced in the U.S. They end up as French fries. And so when consumption goes down and our friends out west in Idaho and Washington and Oregon and out east in Maine, if they can't ship frozen fries overseas, that hurts the entire domestic industry. That'll just flood the domestic market if we're not able to export efficiently.
Houlihan says that though these worries are in the future, currently producers are feeling like they are in a good place and expect a good planting season. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo, and we'll see how the market's finished up right after this.
When it's time to choose a residual herbicide for your soybeans, you need broad-spectrum weed control that lasts. Zidua Pro and Zidua SC herbicides by BASF give your crop up to 2 more weeks of residual weed control, providing 50% more control than other Group 15 residuals. The long-lasting herbicide portfolio protects your soybeans from even the toughest weeds while providing a steady growing environment for the entire season. Talk to your retailer today about adding Zidua Pro and Zidua SC herbicides to your 2025 plan. Always read and follow label directions.
Giving back. It's at the heart of the Wisconsin farmer, and it starts with supporting the backbones of our community. That's why the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board invests in soy foam for our firefighters. Soy foam TF 1122 is the first and only firefighting foam green screen certified at the gold level. As a PFAS-free firefighting foam, it's safe for you and the environment. A safe future for your community. Thanks to your soy checkoff. Learn more at wisoybean.org.
I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report. A slight mix on the close today as cash corn is down 3 1/4 cents at 4.75 with new crop corn down 5 1/2 at 4.50 1/4. Cash soybeans saw a gain of 2 1/4 cents at 10.52 with new crop soybeans down 1/4 penny at 10.34 3/4. May wheat contracts are down 14 1/2 at 5.15 1/2. with July wheat down 14 cents at 5.31. Class 3 milk is showing some gains as May contracts are up 3 cents at 18.30 a hundredweight, and June contracts are up 18 cents at 17.26 a hundredweight. Barrels of cheese saw no change, sitting at 170 1/2, and 40-pound block also saw no change at 170. And butter went down 1/2 penny at 2.27 1/2. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mostly cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Some storms could be severe tonight with hail, gusty winds, and even a tornado. Temps fall out of the 60s tonight into the 50s tomorrow as rain wraps early but breezy with clearing. Currently it's 79.
The John and Gordy Show.
We have as our special guest Mike McCabe.
What they are trying to do is finance $4 trillion worth of tax cuts for the rich. We've got a whole bunch of billionaires who don't pay taxes, and we are deporting people who do pay taxes.
Yeah.
So, I said it's not like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. We're throwing paying passengers overboard to make more room for a bigger first class for those freeloaders who are lounging there.
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
At National Geographic Society, we believe in the power of wonder. It drives us to explore, pushes us to see the world differently, moves us to action. And we believe that today, wonder is more
30
essential
seconds.
than ever.
Pursuing the truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along on a Monday, April 23rd, 2025. 35 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Taking a look at our weather situation across the state of Wisconsin. Been tracking some severe, that's the thing. They're not technically severe storms, but many of these storms, 50-mile-per-hour winds, half-inch sized hail, according to the National Weather Service. They kind of keep popping up along this same area, say from the Black River Falls area, and then head from there north and east. And so now, once again, another strong storm north of Marshfield, headed once again towards the Wausau area. And then another strong storm right now over Merrill. So those are the two cells that we're watching right now. Again, not technically severe, but strong storms. And also for our La Crosse listeners right now, another line of storms just having moved through the La Crosse area and now just to the east of La Crosse, headed towards the Sparta and Viroqua areas right now, so be aware of that. Other places, some showers and storms popping up. Nothing super strong right now, but keep an eye to the sky because it's going to be a rough night for parts of the state. And again, some people are going to say, what are you talking about, Todd? Because I'm not seeing or hearing anything. And there will be parts of the state that don't get a whole lot at all. But there are parts of the state that are going to get strong storms because of the fact that in Madison right now, it's 77 degrees. And in Superior, Wisconsin right now, it is in the mid-40s. So we have this unstable air mass across the state of Wisconsin, and that's going to cause some weather problems as we go through the overnight hours into the evening and overnight hours tonight. Checking traffic for you once again, normal to heavy traffic than normal on the interstate areas around the Milwaukee area, particularly going north and south. People trying to get north and south right now in the greater Milwaukee area. I-43 from, say, 94 up to I-90. So that whole stretch of I-43 right now going slow. Be prepared for that. And also I-41 going north and south from 94 pretty much all the way to just south of Menominee Falls. That entire stretch, you're going to see slowdowns there, so just be aware of that. No major road closures, although there are some disabled vehicles around the Beltline in Madison right now, not causing any complete road closures, but some disabled vehicles off to the side of the road may get some gawkers, so be aware of that. Don't gawk, just continue to drive. That's what slows everything down, you understand?
Don't make a second victim.
That's a good way to put it, Summers. Don't make a second victim. Speaking of victims, the American taxpayer, right? Talking about what's coming to Congress now that the Easter recess is over and major things ahead for Congress. Some of these things are not making the big headlines because of larger, kind of more media sexy type of stories. Trump going on Truth Social saying wacky things. But these are things that are going to have to be talked about in the coming days and weeks. What are your thoughts on this new budget coming up, these new congressional votes? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Do you or someone you know use Medicaid? Medicaid. Now, my former party likes to paint this as quote-unquote welfare. Oh, we don't want to give people welfare. Well, it turns out a lot of their voters are on Medicaid because Medicaid is not for people, it's not singularly for people who are quote-unquote lazy. By the way, that's just kind of a more or less a myth. Yes, of course, you're always going to have a couple of bad apples in every barrel who are going to try to game the system. But I don't want to say it never happens because then somebody's going to bring up the 1 in a million case where it happens.
But it's so rare that the benefits far exceed the detriment.
Right, especially after Tommy George Thompson, when he was governor, in a bipartisan way, created welfare to work. Makes it much harder to quote-unquote game the system. But most people want to work. Most people they're looking for a hand up, not a handout. And so there are a lot of people in predominantly Republican voting areas of Wisconsin who are disabled, veterans, for instance. People who went and served our countries overseas, have PTSD or whatever the case may be. They aren't able to work either fully or at all. And so part of their support comes from Medicaid money. It might be our parents or grandparents who worked all their life, who saved up, who tried to pull themselves up by the bootstrap, great upstanding members of our community, but in later life develop things like dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it might be. And they had no choice but to go into elder care, to memory care. Those places aren't cheap, folks. My maternal grandmother was in a nursing care facility last 6-7 years of her life. It can be $8,000-$9,000 a month. A month. And for folks that can't pay it, they don't get kicked out on the street. Once they go into that facility and their own savings is gone, Medicaid takes over. So the future of Medicaid is up for grabs in Congress coming up the next few weeks. As part of the reconciliation process, Republicans will have to grapple with how and whether they want to significantly cut or reform Medicaid. The reconciliation instructions to the House make it mathematically impossible for that chamber to meet its goals without cutting back on the funding of Medicaid. And this is what Democrats have been talking about. And this is what Republicans like Derek Van Orton, Glenn Grothman, and Tom Tiffany, and Scott Fitzgerald have all denied. And as I said earlier in this segment, they get by with it kind of sort of because technically they're kind of sort of right. Let me explain. So they had the first step was the larger picture, right? But it doesn't delineate how you get there in terms of funding and or cuts. So the Republicans can look at you and say, I didn't vote to cut Medicaid. No, I didn't do that. But Congressman, Congresswoman, you voted for an overall spending bill, yes. But I didn't vote for Medicaid cuts, which is technically true because this vote coming up, this is where the rubber meets the road, you see. It's kind of like, I don't know, you go grocery shopping, right? And you say, well, what should we have for dinner? Well, I would like a steak. I like a filet. And I like a bottle of wine, maybe a 6-pack of beer. And how about, I've been passing the deli and they make these great chocolate cakes. All right. So let's see. The top of the line filet, that's going to cost you about, it depends on where you go and whatnot. It could cost you $15, $20 a pop. So a couple of those, let's say $40 for 2 fillets. $20 for a bottle of wine. We're at 60. And then the cake is another 10. So we're at $70 for dinner. And then you look at your debit card, or you look at your phone, or you look at your checkbook. Well, we've only got $40 to spend. So you have a choice, right? You could have the filet and the wine and the chocolate cake and not pay your $70 electric bill. Or you pay the $70 electric bill and, you have hamburger and a soda or something. I don't know. I'm making it overly simplistic, but you get the point. Congress has to do the same thing. They're saying they want filet in terms of the tax cut they want for the corporations, by the way. But now they got to pay for it. So the reconciliation instructions in the House of Representatives, it makes it mathematically impossible for that chamber to meet its goals without cutting back on Medicaid. That's one of the largest things that Congress puts in funding where our tax dollars go. But to make things more complex, stand by, the instructions to the Senate floor, or to the Senate, are far more loose. In other words, the chambers will have to negotiate this part of the Trump, quote-unquote, big, beautiful bill and expect a potentially sharp fight amongst Republicans over those priorities. This is not going to be just a Republican versus Democratic fight. Because the way the chambers work, the Senate can be more loosey-goosey about it. But the House can't. They got to have real numbers on this. So stand by for that. Also coming up, nomination holds. Here's the deal. I like that. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. We particularly love raising what may be overlooked. So here's the deal. One by one, a handful of Democratic senators have begun using a Senate procedure called placing holds to slow down or block specific Trump administration nominees, either individually or in large groups. At the minimum, a hold means that a nominee cannot be fast-tracked and approval may be significantly slowed down. It can be de facto prevent a vote on a nominee altogether depending upon the circumstances. Here's a couple of examples. Senator Brian Schatz, Democrat of Hawaii. I'm a fan. He's placed holds on some 300 nominees, including all nominees for the Department of State. Schatz has written that he objects to Trump's gutting of the U.S. Agency for International Development, better known as USAID, as well as cuts and actions affecting other agencies. Senator Ruben Gallego, Democrat of Arizona, has done the same for all nominees at the Department of Veterans Affairs, objecting to proposed cuts for that agency. And see, again, you got to know the backstory, because what you're going to hear from Republicans on conservative talk is, oh my gosh, Democrats hate veterans because they're not confirming President Trump's nominees to U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. But the truth is, Democrats like Gallego, I believe he's a veteran, are saying, no. You guys are gutting this agency. You're taking away. So like when you call the VA to make your appointment, or you're trying to get into VA if you're a veteran or a family member, now because Trump and Musk and their made-up agency of Doge have cut so many people, and we're hearing stories about this now. A lot of people are saying they're calling into the Department of Veteran Affairs, they can't get an appointment, or they're having to wait a lot longer. And so Democrats are saying, yeah, The reason is because Trump's cutting all these positions, so we're not going to put more of your stooges in until you properly fund the Department of Veteran Affairs and stand up for our American heroes. Back after this, we'll wrap it up as the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
Blind Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual dining, indoor golf with space for events, craft cocktails, and non-alcoholic drinks too. A hidden gem on Madison's east side. Blind Shot Social Club, open to everyone. BlindShotSocialClub.com.
When you're having computer problems, you need a company you trust to get things working again, quickly and affordably. Madison Computer Works has been doing that for business and residential customers for decades. Our computer care plans take away the hassle of being without your computer or needing to bring it in for repair. Starting at only $10 a month, our local and friendly techs provide remote help and can fix most problems in just minutes. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
You know Ignite Glass and Gifts 3 locations in Madison, but you can also shop IgniteGlassandGifts.com. You'll find grinders, lighters, collectibles, hand-blown glass water pipes, artistically designed jewelry, and plenty of other items delivered straight to your door or to family and friends. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and O'Dana Road. Plus IgniteGlassandGifts.com.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're proud to offer remodeling done well with love. And our commitments to you and your home convey that love and spell our name. The Chad's experience is structured to provide excellent communication, honesty, accuracy, detailed proposals, and satisfied customers. We're also committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. If you want a quality remodel and a quality remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
Why are interscholastic sports called the last classroom of the day? Because they teach students important life lessons like teamwork, accountability, and perseverance. School sports are so much more than a game. They're about developing the whole person. That's why they're an essential part of every student's education.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Everybody wants the same thing from their mattress. A good night's rest, am I right? You need someone to listen to what you want and who knows the materials that will get you there. At Verlo, we're your friendly neighborhood mattress genius. American made, locally crafted. Welcome to Verlo.
Wherever you are in Wisconsin, there's a free and confidential Aging and Disability Resource Center, ADRC, or Tribal Partner Agency. We're here for older adults, adults with
30 seconds.
disabilities,
Thank you.
and your families.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 8 before the hour of 4 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC and CBS News, followed by an important check of our weather. Our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, comes on after that, give you the sports report. We appreciate Clemens coming on our show today. Be aware of the weather. Keep it tuned to your favorite weather source throughout the afternoon, evening, into the overnight hours, as we're seeing some heavy storms pop up across parts of Wisconsin this afternoon. Again, it's kind of been interesting to watch from a weather standpoint, but a lot of these storms have been popping up along the Black River Falls area and then head northeast at around 50 miles per hour. Some of those storms have been creating gusty winds up to 50 miles per hour, and then some smaller sized hail as well. A couple of cells continuing to pop up right now. Currently looking at weather radar, we can see west and northwest of Wausau right now, right above Stratford. Have some strong cells there around the Merrill area, just south of Tomahawk. Some strong storms right there right now, and those are heading to the east-northeast at around 50 miles per hour. And then southwest-ish Wisconsin, between Sparta and Toma, another strong cell right now. That is moving about due east with some heavy rains and lightning as well. So 77 degrees right now in Madison, where we are, Somersby are at. 46 was it in Superior? So yeah,
Right around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a wide range of temperatures, and that's part of what's creating some of these storms to pop up. The sun is only going to fuel those storms, so be aware of that across the state of Wisconsin. Quick final check of traffic at this hour. Again, the greater Milwaukee area. If you're going north and south on Interstate 43 in both directions, from 94 up to 190, take some extra time or allow some extra time. Both north and south on I-43, slow going right now. It is cleared up a bit to the west of there on I-41, north and south between 94 and all the way up to Menominee Falls, but still some slow spots there as well. On to Waukesha, a couple more disabled vehicles now off the road, so those are on the shoulder, but again, you might get some people kind of gawking there, but it's not blocking traffic directly. And then in the greater Madison area on the Beltline, again, a couple of disabled vehicles off on the shoulder, but nothing that is literally blocking traffic. So that is a check of your weather and traffic update now at 55 minutes past the hour. Want to wrap this up. Well, things, look, I know this stuff isn't as sexy as what's on Truth Social and some of the big headlines, but I think it's important to keep our eyes on this. These nomination holds, the reconciliation, things that are happening in Congress, and in particular, we're talking about these cuts to Medicaid, which again, to reiterate, this might be one of the most important things we've talked about all day, is that what Congress has already passed in terms of their overall budget, they cannot make that happen without significant cuts to Medicaid. Either A, they can't make all the tax cuts they want happen, or B, we're going to see significant cuts in Medicaid. And again, this does not mean quote-unquote welfare. These are folks that have worked all their life who are now retired and might be in nursing homes on Medicaid. It might be disabled veterans, lots of other folks.
Kids, a lot of kids.
You're right. Thank you. A lot of kids. So if you're concerned about this, I urge you to call your local congressperson. I heard Congressman Mark Pocan talking about this on Tom Hartman's show last week. Somebody called in and said, well, wouldn't it be, I think we should start calling our Republican Congress people and urging them to join Hakeem Jeffries. It only takes 5 to basically unseat Johnson as speaker and get things done. That's a great thought. But even Mark Pocan said, look, when someone goes to my website and they go to leave me an email, you have to type in your zip code. And if your zip code doesn't match those in my district, you're not even able to allowed to use or to leave a message. And he said, because I have 2 staffers to respond to all that constituent email, and I just don't have the staff to respond to people outside my district. And as a former congressional staffer myself, I know that to be true. So I understand the sentiment, but it's much more effective if you call your own or email your own congressperson, whomever that might be. And of course, in Wisconsin, we have 2 U.S. senators, 1 Democrat, Tammy Baldwin, 1 Republican, Ron Johnson. So call them, email them, and say, look, we're not for these Medicaid cuts, if that's important to you. A couple more of these, I guess one more of this nominee. Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, put a hold on Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., a pivotal prosecutor in the Department of Justice system. Schiff argues that the nominee is a Trump loyalist who helped organize the January 6, 2021, quote-unquote, Stop the Steal rally and should be blocked. I agree with Senator Schiff. We know that Trump has pushed against any delays seeking his nominees confirmed, at times threatening to upend the nomination system itself by launching recess appointments. Watch for this area as a possible increased tension in the weeks and months ahead. If it boils, it will boil quickly. Great show today. Appreciate Mike Clemens for stopping by. Zamers also, thank you. Always great work. All of you for listening as well. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition. What's worse as well, stay safe out there on the roadways, but also watch the weather, folks. It might get bumpy later on. Till then, Todd Allbaugh say whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Keep banging on your drum. Keep banging on, and your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
Okie dokie, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Adios.
Bye-bye.